Breaking only moments ago from the New York Times, major new development in John Durham's investigation into the origins of the Russia probe. This is huge. By the way, if your name is Brennan, Clapper, or Comey, you may want to lawyer up because Durham is now seeking interviews, especially with top CIA officers. That's right. Investigation into the investigators is going to be all-encompassing, like we've been telling you, will likely now spread across continents. Pay attention to Italy, Great Britain, and Australia. And according to the Times, CIA Director Gina Haspel rightly is instructing her agency to fully cooperate, and they will, from the dirty dossier to the rampant spying against Trump associates, and then the leaking of sensitive material to rig an election. The single biggest abuse of power scandal in American history. The truth is now being covered. The boomerang of all boomerangs of justice is in full swing. And high-ranking former bureaucrats, they are in deep, deep trouble tonight. And there's no stopping this train. And meanwhile, Democrats and, of course, their friends in the media mob, they are still fixated on one issue and one only: rage, psychosis against the president. As we speak, once again, apoplectic. This is actually the most amazing setup you'll ever see. Brand new interview clip between the president and ABC's Georgie Stephanopoulos, the resident Clinton sycophant. Take a look.
Your campaign this time around, if foreigners, if Russia, if China, if someone else offers you information on an opponent, should they accept it or should they call the FBI?
I think maybe you do both. I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening. If somebody called from a country, Norway, we have information on your opponent. Oh, I think I'd want to hear it.
You want that kind of interference in our elections?
It's not an interference. They have information. I think I'd take it. If I thought there was something wrong, I'd go maybe to the FBI.
Now, this is what's fascinating. Let's be very clear. You might want to listen. Listening is much different than, let's see, lying, spying, and paying for Russian lies and spreading it through the media by deep state operatives, and then using it as the basis of a FISA warrant. Because Hillary Clinton, if the media is outraged over, you might want to listen and then report it to the FBI, why are they not so outraged about Hillary paying for Russian lies, disinformation, Comey generously using the unverifiable data from Russia to spy on the Trump campaign and get a FISA warrant? No doubt, by the way, this will all get another round of fake, phony, moral, selective outrage over that interview. But it's the perfect setup, because if they're outraged about that, then how can you not be outraged over what I just said? Of course, that's all to be expected. In many ways, that was actually a genius setup, because the media mob will fall right into his trap, breathlessly spewing fake, phony outrage over a non-story for days. We'll be showing you the tape this time tomorrow night, ignoring the real abuse of power that took place in 2016 and the real Russian dossier that was bought and paid for and then used as a basis to spy on the Trump campaign. More proof, if you needed it, the media mob is nothing more than an extension of the Democratic Party. Oh, they're worried about, let's see, obstruction of justice, but only if it's Trump, not Hillary. They're worried about underlying crimes, but only if it's Trump, not Hillary. They're worried about believing, but only if it bludgeons Trump, not the attorney, the lieutenant governor of the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, over serious sex allegations. So all of this comes as top Democrats have their heads, I won't say it the way I want to, in the sand. Today they turned Capitol Hill into the Twilight Zone. Known liar, the cowardly Adam Schiff. Come on the show, Schiff. Come, please. 4 hours for you, free. He held yet another hearing about his favorite fantasy, the Russian hoax, the only guy that's caught on tape colluding with Russians. And Schiff knows there was zero Trump-Russia collusion. 4 previous investigations, all concluding collusion is a lie and a myth and unprovable. But that doesn't matter to the cowardly Adam Schiff, because he's nothing more than a liar and a con artist. That's why he won't come on this show. His sole mission is to smear President Trump every second hour of every day, just like the mob and the media. That's why the House Intel Committee chair held yet another sham hearing today on what he called disturbing findings of Volume 1 of the Mueller report. Read it. Don't forget the same volume that totally cleared Trump and his entire campaign. It said, quote, the investigation did not establish, Mr. Schiff. What part of this don't you understand? That members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. The only one on a phone call with Russia looking for disinformation is you in a hoax. The only one that paid for Russian lies is your candidate, Hillary. 675 days, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 500 witnesses, 230 orders for communication records, 19 hyper-partisan anti-Trump investigators, and all Democratic donors, even Hillary Clinton's attorney, the worst attorney, Andrew Weissman, on the face of the earth, over $25 million spent, and even Mueller's team found no collusion. Instead, they were only able to produce a 400 and some odd page document filled with smears, insinuation, and even took an edited tape of the Trump attorney, Dowd, out of context, a heavily edited voicemail to make Attorney John Dowd look bad. Wow. A total mischaracterization of Manafort's business associate. The Mueller report totally admitted Fusion GPS. They were complicit in paying for the Russian lies and propaganda. They hired Steele on behalf of Clinton, and that's only the tip of the iceberg that they missed. And how could they not investigate the phony Russian dossier if you're investigating Russia interference in 2016? So today's bogus hearing, Congressman Devin Nunes probably delivered the best speech of his career. He'll join us in a minute. Watch this.
Eventually, the Democrats became convinced that the Mueller report would finally rid them of their sinister president who had the audacity to defeat Hillary Clinton. The Democrats assembled us today to analyze the shoddy political hit piece known as the Mueller report. It's written in the same spirit and with the same purpose as the Steele dossier, which was once championed by Democrats on this committee, but which they rarely mentioned after it was exposed as yet another Democrat-created hoax. Unfortunately for the Democrats, the Mueller dossier, as I call it, either debunked many of their favorite conspiracy theories or did not even find them worth discussing.
Coming up, Congressman Nunes will expand more on what he is calling the Mueller dossier. I wish I thought of that. And its likely author, devout Trump hater, Andrew Weissman. Now, he's the career prosecutor. Andrew Weissman, that is the pit bull, as labeled by the New York Times, of Mueller, actually attended the 2016 election night victory party for Hillary. He's also a partisan Democratic donor. His track record horrific. Sidney Powell's book, License to Lie, just as a brutal takedown detailing Weissman in his notorious withholding of exculpatory information and prosecutorial misconduct. In one case, remember, he sent 4 Merrill executives to prison for a year. That verdict overturned by the Fifth Circuit. It was yet another case. He got overturned 9-0. What an achievement by the Supreme Court. Thousands of Anderson Accounting employees, they lost their jobs because of Weissman. And tonight we can report that Weissman's biggest critic, Sidney Powell, thank goodness, has now been hired to represent Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. That's the legal team responsible for Flynn's guilty plea, has been sacked. Powell, who has said 16 months ago, blasting the Mueller witch hunt, is now taking over. Now, no word if he plans to withdraw, but a change of course certainly looks imminent. Powell said 16 months ago he should withdraw that plea. I agree, especially in light of what the government did to a 33-year retired general, a war hero who served this country with honor and distinction. What they did is disgraceful. Remember, Flynn was illegally amassed. They leaked raw intelligence on him, spied on by high-ranking U.S. government officials in 2016. And remember, after Trump was sworn in, day 4 of his administration, Comey sent agents to the White House to set a perjury trap for Flynn. They'd already listened to the tape after the deputy FBI director, Andrew McCabe, said, no, Flynn, you don't need a lawyer. And Comey brags about setting up a 33-year veteran. This is a national disgrace, this right here.
You look at this White House now, and it's hard to imagine 2 FBI agents ending up in the same room. How did that happen?
I sent them. Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration. And in both of those administrations, there was process. And so if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over.
Laughing about taking advantage of a war hero? Really, James Comey? You're a disgrace. You're not the super patriot you claim to be. You just seem to be nothing but a corrupt career bureaucrat. You think you're untouchable. Sadly, you're what Joe DeGenova described. I don't even want to say it because it makes me mad knowing most of my family served in law enforcement. But I have news for the ever so pious king of the deep state. Mr. Comey, justice is coming your way, and I predict tonight you are going to be held responsible for committing your fraud, your premeditated fraud on a FISA court, and that setup you're bragging about of General Flynn will be your legacy. Leaking sensitive government information, that too will be your legacy, and maybe more. If not, it certainly should be.